Hey, what's up guys, and welcome to this video. This video is a full review of this thing right here, the Asus GR6 gaming PC that's also very much console sized. And yes, it is aiming to sort of get in a little bit to the console market, but there's a lot more to it than that. If you look at PC gaming, it's superior to consoles in pretty much every way other than price, size, portability and ease of use. That's kind of 2.5, 3.5 things really. But this aims to change that by being super portable, super small, and for all things considered really, fairly cheap. So does it succeed, and is it worth buying? Well, let's start by actually taking a look at the unit itself. And it is very nice and sleek. The overall design is excellent. It's got the classic Asus black on red or red on black, and it's got some sort of sharp corners. Now they're not really literally sharp, but the whole design, I have to say, is very nice. It is sort of plasticky, but it feels quite nice nonetheless. And bearing in mind you're probably not going to be stroking it, this isn't really an issue. Looking at the top, we've got vents all the way along the top, actually all the way along the top, right at the bottom, and at the back as well, but we'll get more onto the I/O in a second. We've got a power button at the very top and a Steam Big Picture button, so this will take you into Steam's Big Picture mode whenever you press it, or does it? We'll move on to the front I/O and the back I/O. We have a headphone jack, a microphone jack, and then two USB 2.0 ports. Note that the bottom one is fast charging, so if you want to plug your phone in, you can charge it quickly if it supports that. Around the back we have 3 different audio jacks, and you can assign these in the ROG software that you get with the computer. You have optical out as well, so if you're plugging it into an older receiver or anything like that, you can use optical. HDMI and DisplayPort. The note that the DisplayPort does not support G-Sync because of the GPU within this thing. We've also got Intel LAN, so gigabit LAN port, 4 USB 3.0 ports. The power in, note that the power cord has a power brick, which helps to keep this thing nice and small, as well as keep excess heat and things like that away from the computer. And then a Kensington lock, but the switch actually will enable you to take off the sides. And if you want to take off the side, then you've got an expandable 2.5-inch storage port, so an SSD basically, or a laptop hard drive. You can add an additional one in, and then you can also change up the RAM if you want to change your RAM configuration as well. Now, I know what you're thinking, what are the specifications of this device? Well, you're in luck. You have an i5 5200U, and this is an Intel Broadwell chip. You have the mobile graphics chip of the NVIDIA 960M, so pretty powerful, but not the most powerful chip ever invented, to say the least, but it should definitely give the next generation consoles a good run for their money. But then you can also configure stuff, so you can have a SSD or a hard drive, and you can customize the amount of RAM between 4 and 16 gigabytes out of the box as well. Note that the review unit that Asus has sent to me only has a standard spinning hard drive, and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. This thing also has AC Wi-Fi as well as the Intel LAN chip, and the audio is actually a ROG Supreme FX chip as well, which is a dedicated DAC, which should prove to have better audio than sort of your standard motherboard audio that people have become so accustomed to. So on a spec sheet, it actually looks quite good, and bearing in mind you can get this thing for just over £500, or at least that's what I've seen when I've sort of gone shopping for it. You actually seem to get quite a lot for your money. I would definitely advise going with a spinning hard drive, not a spinning hard drive, what am I on about? I'd advise not going for a spinning hard drive and going for the solid state option if you can, because it's going to prove pretty difficult to upgrade to an SSD later, or at least for your boot drive, because while you can access the side bay and add an SSD in, if you've only got a standard spinning hard drive actually within it, I think it'll probably be quite difficult to sort of transfer your OS and stuff across. It might well be doable, we might be able to sort of install stuff and change stuff around in the BIOS, but I haven't tried. So, it might be doable, but if it is, it's going to be a bit more tricky than simply adding expandable storage. So let's move on to the experience though. What's this thing actually like to use? Well, its size means that it's great for different applications, and they're marketing it as something that could either be your full desktop computer, or it could be a games console replacement, or it could be your next generation games console. And I'll start with the positive, which is that if you want to use this as a desktop, it's great because you can literally just get it out of the box, get it set up, just plug in a mouse and keyboard, maybe a controller, and it's very simple and easy to do. Just install a few Steam games, you can hit the big picture button, which granted doesn't actually always work and actually proved pretty frustrating in all honesty. You can set Steam, of course, to launch in big picture mode, and then while you'll still need a mouse and keyboard handy if Windows updates or something try to take hold, generally speaking the experience is pretty good, and you can get some really nice frame rates in certain games, and stuff like Fallout, when you can configure the options really well, you're going to be able to get the experience you want. Bearing in mind that this isn't the most powerful device in the world, you might find you're better off capping some games at 30 frames a second. So if you use Nvidia's adaptive half refresh rate option, you can basically run games at 30 frames a second and really get a better than console-like experience. It's only when you try to run games at 60 frames a second, you'll sort of run into the sort of problems that games developers have these days, where you want to run something at 60 frames a second, but you're going to have to compromise too much visual fidelity to actually do it. It is a shame that G-Sync isn't supported on this chip, because that starts with the 965M and up, and this is only the 960M, because that really would be great, because then you could have a G-Sync monitor and you could have frame rates of around 45 frames a second, and of course that would be better than what you get on consoles, but you wouldn't have to spend loads of money trying to get a 60 frames a second refresh rate at max settings or something like that. So performance generally is pretty good, and it got about 19-ish frames a second in Heaven benchmark. At least I think it is. If it's wrong, I'll overlay it. But yeah, no, it seems to be pretty powerful, and you can get some decent gaming done. And of course, the benefit of having machine running Windows is that you can use mouse and keyboard games as well. So if you want to play something like Civilization, something you won't really be able to do very well on the next generation consoles. So generally speaking, if you want to use it as a desktop, and you can of course use it as a portable desktop, so literally if you go to university it's going to be brilliant, because you can take this with you to and from, even on the train, just stick it in your bag, it's not very big, and it's a portable desktop. Brilliant. But then the other use case application is to use it as a console, and simply put, it doesn't really work very well. Now, this isn't because of its performance. Like I've said, the performance for what it is actually pretty good. It's because you will always need a mouse and keyboard plugged in, because you are going to run into issues. I don't think I ever managed to launch a game, close a game, launch another game, turn the machine off, so this is over like a 2.5 hour period, without something coming up that needed me to click on a mouse or press Alt-Tab or something. And just overall, if we go back to what I said at the start, where this thing aims to sort of be really easy to use, it's easy to use if you've got a mouse and keyboard, and if you do want to use this as a games console where you just need a controller, Windows simply just means that this isn't really possible, and you're going to get quite frustrated always needing to go and use a mouse and keyboard. This is where the Steam controller and Steam OS comes in handy, and you can get this thing with Steam OS installed, but then you're going to run into the problem of not really having a massive game library to start playing your games on. And it's basically a case of pick your poison. Do you want something that's really controller friendly, that's only good at one thing, which is Steam games, or do you want the Windows experience but then have to sort of muck about with a mouse and keyboard? This also applies if you're playing games like Star Wars Battlefront or Assassin's Creed, because they use their own CRMs. That's customer relationship management. They use their own sort of game management systems. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. DRM, that's the one. So I've been at work too much recently. So yeah, they use their own sort of digital rights management stuff, and this isn't going to be able to really easily get you into playing games, because if you launch Steam Big Picture, you're then going to have all these pop-ups come up when you're trying to play Battlefront. If you want to play Battlefield 4, for instance, as well, you have to go through a browser. And just as a console, I can't really recommend it, because I think you're just going to get a bit frustrated. And if I wanted something next to my TV, 100% I would go for an Xbox One or a PS4 over this. But the whole flexibility of the box is very nice, and that's why overall it is actually a very enticing option for people that want a fairly cheap portable desktop computer, because you don't have to worry about paying for stuff like a rubbish laptop screen and a battery, all in a horrible cheap casing, because you can get the best of laptop components in a small desktop machine. And the execution is quite good. It's just limited, unfortunately, by the SteamOS or Windows if you're trying to use it as a console. Which is why overall it wins, what does it win? Drumroll. It wins the Good Option Award. And this is just because if you are the sort of person that sort of needs something that's a bit portable, you don't want a big tower, but you don't want a laptop, this does fit the use case quite nicely. And if I was going to university and I needed to buy a laptop or a desktop, I would strongly consider this, because actually it's quite good, assuming that you don't mind having a monitor with you at all times. So if you have a monitor at home, monitor obviously at your uni, ideal, but you're still going to need to provide this screen. So that is the end of this GR6 review. I hope it's been very useful, and if you have any questions about the device, then please let me know. For more videos like this, of course, don't forget to subscribe to PC Centric, and you can get more videos like this straight to your inbox every single week. And there's not too much else to say, really. If you did like it, please like it. If you didn't, give it a dislike. But either way, leave a comment to let me know whether it was a video worth watching, and if it wasn't, obviously let me know why it wasn't. Thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you in the next one.